Thank you, and hello to everybody. This is Steve Bosque. I'm the opinion editor of the South Florida Sun Sentinel, and we're here to have a discussion of the campaign for Florida Commissioner of Agriculture with Democratic candidate Naomi Blemur. We extended an invitation. We extended numerous invitations to Naomi's Republican opponent, Senate President Wilton Simpson, who has declined to participate in this discussion. So we thank you very much, Ms. Blemur, for being here today. I just want to briefly introduce my fellow panelists who are here on the video and here asking the questions. My colleague, Chris Fluker, who's opinion editor at the Orlando Sentinel, editor-in-chief Julie Anderson of both the Orlando Sentinel and the Sun Sentinel. From the Orlando Sentinel, Jay Reddick, and from the Sun Sentinel, Dan Sweeney, who is deputy opinion editor. So thanks again for participating. Naomi, I want to begin with a somewhat open-ended question and ask you what in your life experience makes you qualified to be the next Florida Commissioner of Agriculture?
Thank you so very much for this opportunity for me to present my candidacy to you and the viewers. My name is Naomi Esther Blemur. I am the Democratic nominee for Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. It is the honor of my lifetime to put my hat in a state race and to be the first woman of color in the history of this state to file, qualify, and obtain the nomination of the Democratic Party. What qualifies me is my body of experience. I have 20 plus years experience as a retail manager, commercial banker. I work for the second largest bank in the United States, and my experience as a nonprofit leader. Most importantly, I did not wait until I ran for office in order to serve. I currently serve as a commissioner on the Planning Commission in my city. I am also the elected vice chair for the Commission for Women, and I also sit as a business owner on the CRA Community Redevelopment Advisory Board. And so I bring years of service as well as my professional background to this stage in order to serve the 22 million residents of the state of Florida without prejudice.
Okay. And tell us, in a somewhat related question, obviously this is a partisan office. I should have said at the outset, but I'll say parenthetically, this is one of 3 elected positions on the Florida cabinet. Highly important position, 4-year term, partisan office, overseeing not just agriculture, but many consumer services in the state, food inspection, plant inspection, licensing of firearms, many other responsibilities go with Department of Agriculture. But Naomi, what most distinguishes you from your Republican opponent, Wilton Simpson?
What I would say would be the first thing that distinguishes me from my opponent is my history. The reason that I decided to run for this seat is because I looked at the history of this seat. And in the 1800s, when the Constitution of this state was being established, it was not called Commission of Agriculture. It was called Commission of Immigration. And I tied that to my grandmother, who came here in the 1980s, could not read, write, or understand English, but she needed to make a living. And my grandmother found that living in Immokalee, picking tomatoes. And so she, as a farm laborer, worked for 10 years, never having proper health care, never having a pension, never having the opportunity to own a farm, although we as Haitian Americans are farmers in Haiti. And I believe that my grandmother did not only work as a farm laborer, but she sowed the seeds that has produced the woman that you see here today. And I am honored to say that within her legacy, while she was investing or working in an industry that is now a $100 billion industry, the second largest economic driver in the state of Florida, she did not know that. She did not understand that. But today, as her granddaughter, I not only know it, I understand it, and I'm positioning to serve the people of the state of Florida through agriculture.
Your grandmother, who you just spoke of, tell us a little bit about her story, how she came to Florida.
Well, my grandmother came to Florida like many other immigrants on a visa and seeking better life. And when she landed here in Florida, there were not many opportunities. But for most Haitian Americans during that time, there was the opportunity of working on the farms and ultimately through that opportunity, getting your papers, becoming a US citizen. And that is the path that she took until she was about 65, 66 years old. She worked on those farms and retired here in the state of Florida and passed away about 7 years ago, which ultimately brought me to a place of service politically. Although I was serving in my community as a minister, serving in my church, serving in multiple capacities, spiritually, it actually led me to the forefront of engaging politically in the North Miami community and serving in these multiple capacities.
Tell us a little bit about the agency that you're aspiring to run, that is Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. For example, tell us about the size of the agency's budget, how much money the budget is.
Excellent question. So we're looking at a budget of $1.9 billion. This current commissioner, Nikki Freed, oversees 3,600 employees and some 19 divisions and offices. Some people call the divisions departments, some people call them offices, but in total, there are 19. It oversees energy, it oversees food inspection and control, it oversees all nonprofits in the state of Florida, it oversees all mechanics in the state of Florida, all individuals who are working through travel businesses, small security, private security firms, and private investigative firms. Now, with that said, not only is she overseeing these departments, it is also the clearinghouse for all consumer complaints. So no matter what the person is consuming in the state of Florida, if they find themselves having a dispute, this is the department that will take in their dispute and ultimately bring some kind of remedy or solution. In addition to that, the Commissioner of Agriculture right now oversees all the forests in the state. This person is also responsible for weights and measures, ensuring that when you go to the gas pump, you are not taking advantage of. And if there are any price gouging going at any point in time, this is the person responsible to ensure that we identify where it's happening. For cabinet roles and making sure that individuals who come forth requesting second chances through the clemency board, this is also within the role of the commissioner.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
And
this is my last question. This is my last question in the segment. Then I'll open it to it. I just want to stay on the same topic. You've done your homework. I'm going to ask you if you've done a little more homework. You're absolutely right about the consumer complaint issue. And I haven't checked in the last few months, but I have regularly pulled from the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services the list of which sort of consumer complaints come into the office the most. Can you give me a particular type of complaint that is extremely common at the Florida Department of Agriculture?
Well, one of the complaints that I know for sure are people who do not want to be called, the no-call list.
That is correct. Yep.
They are sick and tired of getting these phone calls while they're going about their daily life, and they want to be removed off of those call lists. So to my knowledge, that is one of the major issues that comes through this department.
It is. You are absolutely correct. That is, in fact, it is the legislature's purview to carve out exceptions to the do not call list, but people pay money to get on a do not call registry, and they still get those phone calls. Let me open the floor to my colleague now, Chris Fluker. Go ahead, Chris.
thank you. And I had, the scope of your office, of the office you're seeking, really is massive. And one area that the office does have direct purview over is landlord-tenant disputes. And I wanted to ask you what you think, given the current state of Florida's housing market, particularly those people who are going to need to be renters, what more can the office do in the future to protect their interests? What are your plans there?
Excellent question. And so, yes, landlord and tenant also falls under the purview of the Commission of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And here in my county, Miami-Dade County, we've brought forth a tenant bill of rights. And I think that that is something that, although I am not part of the legislator, I can advocate for, that tenants need a tenant bill of rights to protect them, to ensure that when they're going to rent an apartment or condo or a home, private home for them to live in, that they understand that if at any point in time the landlord does not follow these set of rules, that they know that their rights are being violated, and that they know that they can come to us and bring forth those issues, and we will remedy them. We will bring about the right solutions. And while I say that, there shall also be a responsibility on the tenants, right? On what they're also supposed to do to ensure that they build a great relationship between the tenant and the landlord, so that there's mutual respect, there's mutual understanding, and no one is violating the right of the other person.
Okay. Let me just generally open the floor to my fellow panelists. If anybody has a question at this time, go ahead, Chris.
I did have one more question.
Sure.
And it is a pretty somber one. Florida has the third highest number of human trafficking cases in the nation and ranks fifth highest, even when you adjust for inflation, for population, sorry. The majority of these cases are sex trafficking, but a significant number are related to agriculture as well. Now, the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services does have some law enforcement capability. What, if anything, should the department be doing to help with the efforts to fight human trafficking in Florida?
Thank you, Chris, for that question. So there are a lot of issues concerning farmers and farm workers that I truly believe that I am going to highlight as the next Commissioner of Agriculture, and I'm going to move expeditiously to take care of these issues. One of the things that we can do as the Department of Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services is creating a private hotline where individuals who are workers who are in these environments can report what is happening, and do so without the concern or the fear of a backlash from the person who is running that farm. And I think that if we establish that, where farm workers will know that when they report an incident, when they report something that they see, it will be confidential and they will not be exposed. But we as the department will move quickly to address those issues. I think we will be able to deal quickly with issues like the trafficking that is going on, issues like mistreatment that is also going on, issues of abuse that are also going on. And so it's a myriad of things. But yes, sex trafficking is definitely a huge issue for us in this state. And through my office, as part of this department, this is one thing that I will do to ensure that we deal with these issues. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake. Yep.
Ms. Blemur, I had a quick question. I wonder, just on a more general sense, your opponent obviously is not here, but what are one or two either issues or personality traits that you feel separate yourself more specifically from your opponent?
Well, first and foremost, as a woman of color, as a woman of Haitian descent, I'm not a millionaire. I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a small business owner, who wakes up every single day to work for the betterment of my son and my community. And these are some key things that I think significantly separates us. I think as far as our policies, the things that I'm going to advocate for, number one, I truly believe in a woman's right to choose, and I'm going to fight every day for that. Secondly, I truly believe that the 22 million Floridians in this state deserve a leader who is going to serve them no matter their color, no matter their religion, no matter their sexual orientation, or how they choose to live their life. I'm going to ensure that everybody has access to opportunities and resources equitably. Thank you.
Ms.
I'd like
Blemur,
to- Yes, go ahead.
your predecessor, Commissioner, or I should say the current Commissioner, Nikki Fried, put a lot of emphasis on the hemp industry, CBD, as a potential huge, billion-dollar business. Would that be a priority of yours? And how do you assess that effort so far?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hemp is now a $4 billion industry, right? And currently, Black and brown folks do not have access into that industry, into that economy. And so I want to ensure that not only do we assess the process by which someone actually obtains the license to be able to farm and the license to actually have dispensaries, we're going to ensure that the people who are getting access to this economy look like me. Right now, the application process is about $100 and something thousand. And once that person applies and they do not obtain the license, that money literally vanishes. It just stays in the pot. Why wouldn't we not find ways to actually put a portion of that money available to minority business owners who would like to get into the industry? At the end of the day, as a small business owner, I am going to prioritize individuals who wants to get into that industry, and we're going to ensure that there's an equitable process in place that leads them to success.
Quick follow-up question. So what would be your top 3 priorities in this office? Obviously, you've got a huge purview. What would you really prioritize?
Excellent. So in my introduction, I did not talk about the concealed weapon license department, and that is going to be one of my top priorities. Our current commissioner has done a great job in keeping the NRA out of this department, and I will continue that. I will ensure that every person who applies for the license, who deserve to get it quickly, and those that do not deserve to get it don't obtain the license. Second, it is also within the purview of the commissioner to provide the free breakfast and lunch across every public school in the state. I will ensure that every child gets a nutritional breakfast and lunch every day of the school year. Third thing that I would like to work on is expanding the community farming program. Right now, food insecurity, food deserts, is a real thing here in Florida. There are some people who have to travel 5 miles to find a supermarket, while we have vacant land just sitting there doing nothing. So one of the things that I would like to do is for every family that would desire to, I want to give them the education and the seed for them to plant their own fruits and vegetables right in their backyards. And then going a step further, partnering with counties that have vacant land and creating community markets. One more step further, looking at state land and creating community markets. If anything like COVID was to ever happen again, and people or what we call essential workers could not get to Publix and Winn-Dixie, we want to make sure that every family in this state is eating and no child is going to bed hungry or going without. And we have the capacity to do that. And I will ensure that I get that done through the community farming program. Thank you.
Ms. Blemur, we talked about the issue, you raised the issue of a woman's right to choose, and I want to return to that for a second, because about a month ago, there was a news story and some controversy. There were a couple of Democrats who withdrew their endorsements of you, having claimed they saw old Facebook posts in which they claim you made anti-abortion statements, and they thought homophobic statements. I recall Representative Anna Escamani of Orlando was one of the ones who withdrew her endorsement, as well as Mayor Daniela Cava Levine, the mayor of Dade County. So can you please address their concerns, and how have you managed that controversy?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to bring forth a correction. Representative Escamani had never endorsed me. I did have conversations with her about possibly endorsing me, and that never came to fruition. However, yes, Daniela Levine Cava, mayor of Miami-Dade County, did endorse me and later rescinded her endorsement. I want to be very clear. I have always and will always be a woman who believes in another woman's right to choose, period. As a woman of faith, I have my own personal values, and I have principles that guide my life and my household, and they are personal to me, which I truly believe is also my right to choose. And I believe in everybody's ability to choose what is best for them, their families, and their household. When it comes to the LGBTQIA+ community, at no point in me sharing a testimony of a young woman who is an evangelist, did I state my position for or against the LGBTQ community, because I have always been an ally and will continue to be an ally. Currently, our campaign has brought on a statewide coordinator by the name of Mr. Elijah Manley, who will work to engage, inform, and create better partnership within the LGBTQ community and myself. And I also have committed to ensuring that the statewide advocate that the current commissioner, Nikki Fried, has put on her budget will remain during my administration. And so again, I have touched on this several times, and I know it always comes up, but I think that what the people want to know is whether or not I, Naomi Blemur, is going to serve with prejudice. And the answer is no. I will serve the 22 million residents of the state of Florida, no matter their party, no matter their sexual orientation, no matter their color or their religion, without prejudice.
Okay. I just have one follow-up question, then we'll open the floor again on the same subject. You're a pastor. Are you an ordained minister?
I am not a pastor. The difference is between a minister and a pastor is someone who actually has a church where they are leading a group of people spiritually. However, I am a minister. I have been a minister since 2008. I find different ways to serve my community spiritually, educationally, emotionally, and when necessary, financially. That is my contribution to my community, and it has been one that I have been doing consistently here in South Florida for the past 7 years. Thank you.
My follow-up and related question is, and this will be the last one, but as a minister, as a person of deep faith, my question is whether is there an inherent conflict between your religious beliefs and the expectation Democrats expect from you on the issue of abortion?
Well, as it relates to the Democrat Party, I am currently an elected committee woman for the party, and I have been in this position for close to 2 years now. My perspective of the party is that we are a big tent, and we allow everyone to join the party. And we give everyone the opportunity to express themselves, to express their ideas, and to express their values the way they choose to, without judgment. And this is why I am a Democrat. And so whether or not that aligns with some parts of the party, I am not purview to that, or I cannot speak on individuals, but I can speak for the plus almost 700,000 Democrats who voted for me at 50.4% to become this nominee. They've chosen me because they see me as the best person for Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is open.
You just said everyone should be in the Democratic Party should be able to express their views. Everyone, denying that the last election went a certain way, all of these things that the party currently finds fault with in the other party. These are all things that Democrats should be able to talk freely amongst each other and should be welcomed within the party.
So I want to be clear when I say everybody should be able to express their views and their values. I'm not talking about politics or political rhetoric. I'm talking about what people hold dear and true to them, as far as their faith, as far as their values, as far as the future that we want to see for all Floridians. Those are the things that I'm talking about. The
Okay.
things that we all can agree to work on together to build a better Florida.
And I think your views, people would not disagree that they're deeply held. One of those posts that gained so much controversy back in August, you wrote, "Abortion is a sin," all caps. "Just like any other sin, it will never be consistent with Christianity, period." And you say it would protect every other woman's right to choose, but given how how firm and serious you are in that belief, do you understand why some people who are pro-choice would be have a little trepidation about that?
Again, I am pro-choice. I've always been and will continue to be. I have 4 years of studies in theology under my belt. I hold an honorary doctorate from Florida Theological Seminary in ministry because of the body of work that I have done in 13 years. Now, as a minister, when I take the position to explain or talk about a particular scripture in the Bible, that is one thing. When I am in the public and I am serving 22 million people, that is a different hat. And I would like to think that in this society, we understand that people wear different hats. And we understand that depending on the hat that you're wearing on that day, your responses to different topics, different subject matters are going to be different. Now, as I stated earlier, I currently serve on 3 boards in my city. You can go online and you can look at past meetings with the Planning Commission as people brought their concerns before the board. I never asked them who they are, what religion they are, what's their sexual orientation. I served everybody the same. I responded and brought forth solution and voted on things based on the people's requests because that was my job. And I truly believe up until this point, I have done it and I've done it well. And no one can question whether or not I would be biased against any particular group, especially as a woman of color, especially as a woman who is discriminated against, especially as a marginalized group being Haitian American here in the United States. I understand all too well what other groups go through. And I would be the last one to oppress, to discriminate, or to take anything away from someone because I did not agree with their choices.
Okay. You mentioned earlier in your when we asked what the difference is between you and your opponent, that you, unlike him, would protect a woman's right to abortion. That was the first mention of this in the conversation. So, can you just tell me what exactly the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, how that's a serious, valid, important point in this particular office?
I love that, Daniel, and I thank you for asking that because as a Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, believe it or not, I will not be a legislator. And I am in no way, shape, or form bringing forth legislation. It is an executive role. I am merely managing what is before me within the office, and I am enforcing the laws that are already there and regulating, making sure that all the parties within the department follows. And then I am an advocate. It comes into the purview of being an advocate. As a member of the elected body of the cabinet, anything that the people bring forth to me and say that this is a concern for them, I will advocate for. So that's where it falls in, because you have a large percentage of women in this state that right now feels like they're, or I'm not feeling, their rights are being taken away. And because their rights are being taken away, they're going to look for an elected official at every single level to fight for them. And this is why I brought that up.
Okay, thank you.
Jay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. We have actually gone past by a considerable amount the time that we had set aside for this. So in a minute, I think we're going to invite you to make a closing statement. But before I did that, I wanted to say to the viewers who are watching this, we do plan on making an endorsement in this race, either jointly or or separately as two separate papers. However, that is not the end of this discussion by any means. Both candidates have ample information out there about their positions, about their beliefs, about how they would handle themselves. And so we urge you to look at their websites, read the excellent news coverage in the Sentinel and the Sun Sentinel, and make up your own mind, because this is a very important race for Florida. And so with that, I wanted to invite you to give us a closing statement as to why you are the choice for Floridians. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Steve. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jay, for this wonderful opportunity. As I opened up, it has been the honor of my lifetime to throw my hat in this race and to run for an elected office, specifically for Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. I had never ran for office before. I did not know exactly what it all entails. Nevertheless, the individuals that I have met, the relationships that I've been able to foster, and the stories that I have heard along this campaign trail has touched me and will stay with me for a lifetime. And I want to speak directly to the voters. I want to speak directly to the residents of the state of Florida. If you're concerned about a loaf of bread being $4.50, I am your candidate. If you're a family of two and you're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment and you cannot find one under $2,000, I am your candidate. If you believe that the 22 million residents of the state of Florida should get a servant leader who's going to be concerned about your needs, about the resources that you desire in order to live the life that you want here in this state, I am your candidate. I am not a pushover. I am not anybody's pony. Nobody propped me up to run for office. I did so because I truly believe that the times that we live in, it's calling for a champion. It's calling for the people's champion, somebody who's going to go to Tallahassee and defend you and defend the future of your children and the legacy that you want to leave behind for your grandchildren. If that's the type of leader that you're looking for, a leader who shows up for the people, my name is Naomi Esther Blemur, and I ask you, come November 8th, to vote me in as your next Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And I say this with all assurity, I will not let you down. You can go to my website at naomiblemur.com. Follow me at Naomi for FL on all social media platforms, and let's get on this journey together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Blemur, for your
Thank you.
participation. Really appreciate your being here with us today. Best of luck to you.